to a new section here on this course on Django, and in this tutorial we are going to be covering the section overview of this section. So in this section we are basically going to be covering three important topics. Now the first topic which we are going to be covering in this tutorial is about the object relational mapper. Now what is object relational mapper, how it is basically related to databases, because in this section we are basically going to be dealing with databases. So how object relational mapper is basically related to databases, that is going to be a very important part of this section. In the second part of this section we are going to be installing the setups that are going to be needed to run all our databases stuff in Django. And the third part of the section is going to be dealing with the configuration of our databases we have installed in the second part. So it is going to be a very important section, because from now on we are going to be starting dealing on with the databases. So databases is a hell lot of an important thing. So I guess you stick on to this section and grab everything. So I guess that's it with this tutorial. In the next tutorial we are going to be starting on with the object relational mapper. So thank you so much guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Welcome you to another tutorial on this course on Django, and in this tutorial we are going to be actually starting on with databases. So from the very start tutorial I've been telling you that we are going to be starting with databases and databases. So finally we are here starting on with databases. So in this tutorial we are going to be covering a very important and the very starting concept you need to know, that is object relational mapper to understand databases. So one of the most powerful features of Django is its object relational mapper, which enables you to interact with your databases like you would with SQL. In fact, Django's ORM is just a Pythonical way to create SQL, to query and manipulate your database and get results in a Pythonic fashion. Well, I say just a way, but it's actually really clever engineering that takes advantage of some of the more complex parts of Python to make developers' lives easier. Now the Django web framework includes a default ORM that can be used to interact with application data from various relational databases such as SQLite. You can use PostgreSQL, which we are going to be using, and you can also use MySQL. Now the Django ORM is basically an implementation of the ORM concept. Now the ORM main goal is to transmit data between a relational database and the application model. The ORM automates this transmission such that the developer need not to write any kind of SQL code. ORM, as from the name, maps object attributes to the respective table fields. It can also retrieve data in that manner. Now this makes the whole development process a very fast process and an error-free process. Now if you have a look at this diagram, then in this basically we have some Python objects and a table with corresponding fields. Now the object attributes are stored in the corresponding fields automatically, and ORM will automatically create and store your object data in the databases, and you don't have to write any SQL for the same. Now as you can see that you have this model in which you have certain objects that are being mapped to this table, or you can call it a database, and these are basically the Python objects which are going to be mapped using the model you are basically creating in the models class. So in the previous tutorials you might have been seeing that you were creating a model, but then you were mapping those using a class that was created in the views.py. But now what we are going to do is that we are going to map the models we create to the database. And you can see that you have all those objects at the top here, and those objects then contain certain amount of data as well. Now what are the problems that are basically solved by this ORM? Now ORMs have certain benefits over the traditional approach. The main advantage ORMs provide is rapid development. ORMs make the project more portable. It is easier to change the databases if you use ORM. Now if you want to understand the difference, or you may say if you want to compare the complexity level between writing an SQL code and using a Django ORM, you can see right in front of you in this diagram. As you can see that we have this database. In the past, what was done basically that you have to write in the SQL code like the very same. As you can see, the first thing is title, and you have to specify the type, then you have to specify the length, then a comma, then you have to write in the second attribute, its type, then the length. But if you are using a Django ORM, that can be done using a simple way. If you can just write in title, and then you can just write in char field, and you can write in author equal to char field, date of upload equal to date field, and things like that. Now, in the past, the web developers needed to have a knowledge of databases. A database has been an important component from the very start. The programming languages used for web development uses classes and objects for data interpretation. The class is used to define data structure in web applications. Then the same database schema was created in the database. This task requires skills and knowledge of SQL. Now, knowing SQL is also not enough, since SQL implementations slightly differ from one another in different databases. This becomes a difficult and time-consuming task. So to resolve this, the concept of object relational mapper was introduced in web frameworks. ORM automatically create a database schema from the defined classes, or you can say models. They generate the SQL from the Python code for a particular database. ORMs let the developer build the project in one language, that means Python. This increased the popularity of ORMs and web frameworks. Now, there are different ORMs available in the market, but one of the best is the Django ORM. Now, as you can see right here, that for the web framework we have this ORM. Then if you are using Flask, which is also a very excellent language, then you have the SQL Alchemy type of thing for that. If you are using Pyramid, then you have also the SQL Alchemy. And for the Django, you have the Django ORM. Not only ORM, but there are also multiple Python connectors for databases available. These ORMs use connectors to connect databases with a web application. You have to install the connector to a specified database you want to work with. We will be working with some of these as well in our future tutorials, I guess. So Django is shipped with its own ORM. It is a very efficient ORM and is tightly coupled with the Django framework. Django ORM is suitable for handling low-medium complexity queries, although some consider SQL Alchemy ORM to be a better option. The migration feature by Django is also a part of Django ORM. Now, the ORM has many benefits engulfing those of migrations and query sets. Django is the only framework which is complete in itself. Now, what is basically this migration stuff? That is all going to be covered in the future tutorials. You don't need to worry about it for now. Now, the question arises, is it necessary to use ORM? Now, the answer is that this is totally a developer's choice. Although there are certain benefits of ORM, there are some downsides too. It is beneficial for developers as it allows faster development. Sometimes ORMs generate more complex queries than they should. This can result in a performance decrease. Therefore, it is totally the developer's choice and the level of work they are doing. For example, Django's ORM is efficient for working with low-medium complexity models. Now, in this course, we are going to be using the PostgreSQL as our database. And in the next tutorial, we are going to see how to install the setups for that. So I guess you now know what is an ORM and what is its use in databases, and what is Django ORM and why is it necessary to use an ORM, and how the complexity level has been reduced by using an ORM. So I guess that's it with this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we are going to be dealing with the setups, I guess. So thank you so much guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next tutorial. Welcome you to another tutorial on this course on Django, and this tutorial basically deals with the database installations. So the setups we are going to be needing, the first setup we are going to need is the PostgreSQL. Now it is also known as Postgres, and it is a free and open source relational database management system. Emphasizing extensibility and technical standards compliance, it is designed to handle a range of workloads from single machines to data warehouses or web services with many concurrent users. The second tool we are going to be using is pgadmin, and pgadmin is a management tool for the PostgreSQL and a derivative relational database such as the Enterprise DB, or that is also known as the EDB Advanced Server. It may run either as a web or desktop application. So in simple words, pgadmin is basically the user interface to use the PostgreSQL. So we are going to install both of them one by one. So I will just move on to my browser window. And in here, the first thing you need to type in is PostgreSQL download. Now, when you click on it, this window is going to pop up. Now, the first option over here says downloads PostgreSQL. You're going to open it. And when you open it, this window is going to pop up in front of you. Now, it says that it has certain binary packages. Now, if you are using a Mac system, you can just click on this option. If you are using a Solaris, you can click on this option. If you are using a Linux, then these are basically the types of Linux system. If you are using a Red Hat family of Linux, if you are using a Debian server, if you are using Ubuntu, if you are using SUSE, and if any other kind of Linux, you can just click on those and it is going to download that type of PostgreSQL for you. Now, since I'm using Windows, so I'm going to click on this option. And this window over here is going to pop up that states the latest version that is available right now. That is PostgreSQL 12.1, which is the latest version. So what you're going to do is that you're going to click on this very first thing that says download the installer. And when you click on it, this page is going to pop up that displays the information about the versions. So the latest versions, as you can see over here, is 12.1. So you can download it for a Linux system that is 64-bit. You can download it for a Linux system that is 32 bits. You can download it for your Macs. You can download it for the Windows that is 64-bit and Windows that is 32-bit. So my window is actually 64 bits. So I'm going to be using the latest version that is 12.1. So I'm going to click on download. And it says thank you for downloading PostgreSQL, and the download has just started, as you can see over here. So as a download, we will just go to pgadmin 4. So this is the second thing we need to download. So what we are going to do is that we are going to, you can either go directly to this page, but you can also go to this page. So now it states the versions as well. So you're going to click on this latest version option. And when you click on it, the directory over here is going to pop up. Now, if you are using Windows, it has actually popped me the directory that is of Windows. If you are using some other version, you can just right click, open this in new tab, and you can just see the parent directory that contains actually the Linux and every kind of thing. So if you are using a Windows, you can go into Windows. If you are using a Mac system, you can go into Mac system. And if you are using a Linux, then I guess you need to go into this pip. I don't know. So since we are using Windows, we need to go to this Windows option. And when we go to this Windows option, this window over here is going to pop up. So we not only want a single window, not both of them. So the second options, that is, I guess, 80.4 MB. And this is the latest version that is released. So we are going to just click on it. And when I click on it, my download is going to start. Alright, so you can see that my download for pgadmin 4 and PostgreSQL is now started. Alright, so I guess I need to pause the video until the download's complete, and when the download completes, I will resume the this tutorial, and then I'll show you that how to install both these setups. So let's just pause the video and I'll see you in a while. So we have our compilers installed. As you can see, we have this PostgreSQL setup and we have the pgadmin 4 setup. So let's start on with the installation of PostgreSQL. So I will just open it and it will take some time to load. It will ask for the permissions. The permissions have been granted and the setup will now start on. Alright, so the setup is now being started. Alright, so it says welcome to the PostgreSQL setup. Just click next. The directory is going to be the default directory, which will be already mentioned, and it will be in the C drive where your Windows is installed in the program files. So just click next. Now all these 4 options have to be checked, so just click on next, and then it will ask for the data directory, and it is also going to be the very same written over here. So just click on next, and then it will ask you to provide a password for the database super user. Now what is basically a super user? A super user is someone like, let's say, the main controller who is going to control all the things. So what you are going to do over here is that you are going to create a super user. Now the username for that is going to be Postgres by default. You have to memorize it, write it down somewhere, because this is going to be the username for your super user. What you are going to do only is that you are going to type in the password over here. So let's say that my password is 1234, and you have to retype the password 1234 and just click on next. Alright, now it is telling you about the port information. So it says please select the port number the server should listen on. So it has given the port number by default, that is 5432 for the PostgreSQL. Now if you are using some other database, then it may be different. For example, for SQL, I guess it is something like 5300. I don't remember it this time, but it can be different. It can be the same, but if you are using PostgreSQL, it will be the very same, that is 5432. So just click on next. Then it says select the locale to be used by the new database driver. So it is going to be also the very same, that is the default locale, and just click on next. And then all you have to do is that you have to just click on next, and it is going to say that the setup is now ready to being installed on your computer. Just click next, and it will start installing PostgreSQL on your computer. So it will take some time because it is a heavy setup. So I will just pause the video here and resume back when this is complete. Alright, so the installation has been completed, and as you can see that it has displayed the message completing the PostgreSQL setup visit, and it says the setup has finished installing the PostgreSQL on your system. Now it is asking you for a permission that do you want to launch the stack builder at exit, and it is also saying that stack builder may be used to download and install additional tools, drivers and applications to complement your PostgreSQL installation. So we want this to happen, so we will just click on finish. Alright, so it has now launched the stack builder, and you can configure it if you want to, but I don't want to configure it for now. I will just leave it. And if you want to, then you can just select this PostgreSQL on port 5432, click on next, and everything is going to be very easy for you. So we'll just click cancel for now. Alright, so our first setup is installed completely, and we have now PostgreSQL installed on our systems. Now the second setup we have is the pgadmin4, so I'll just click open it, and it will just start on. Alright, so let's give it the permissions and click on next, and you have to accept the agreement. You've got no other choice. So just click next, and the directory is going to be the default again, and it requires approximately 183 MB of free disk space on your C drive. Just click next, and pgadmin4 is going to be the page, and if you want to create a startup menu folder, you can do it. I don't want to do it, so I will just click next, and then just click on install, and it is going to start installing pgadmin4 on your system. Now it is not going to be that much time consuming. It is going to be a fast process. Alright, so the setup is completed successfully, and it has this checkbox that says launch pgadmin4. So we want to launch it so that I can show you. So I'll just click finish, and pgadmin4 is now being opened. That is the management tool for the PostgreSQL you recently installed. And as I told you about pgadmin4, that it is basically the user interface for using the PostgreSQL on your system. and configure it with the Python code. So it is just starting the pgadmin4 server and it will take some time. Alright, so pgadmin4 is now open. Now it is asking you to set master password for pgadmin4, and this will be used to secure and later unlock the saved passwords and other credentials that can be entered and viewed using this pgadmin4. So you have to set up a password. Let us set up the very same password we used for the PostgreSQL, that was 1234. Click on OK and that password is being set, and this is basically the window of your pgadmin4. If you click on this servers, you have this single database, and first it will ask you to enter your password for the user Postgres to connect to the server. Now when the super user was Postgres, you know that the password set was 1234. So just click on OK, and you can see that we have this PostgreSQL 12 over here, which is basically installed in our systems now. And now pgadmin4 is being configured already with the PostgreSQL when you enter the password for the super user of the PostgreSQL, that was Postgres, which was the username, and 1234 was the password. So if you just click on it and extend it, you already have a single database, and in that database you can see at the very end you have certain schemas, and these schemas are basically what is going to help you out. And you can see that you have tables over here, and these tables are what basically we are going to be using now. Since I've extended it, and you can see no tables because we have created no model till now, so that's why we have no tables. When we create our models, we send data, we will have certain tables created here by default. Alright, now what you need to do is that you need to configure pgadmin4 PostgreSQL with your PyCharm. So how this is done, that is a part of the next tutorial. This tutorial was basically about the installation of the setups and setting the passwords for them. So I guess that's it with this tutorial. Thank you so much guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next tutorial. To another tutorial on this course on Django. In this tutorial we are going to see how to configure our databases we have installed in our previous tutorial. So what we are going to do is that in the pgadmin4, if you have a look at the schemas, in here we have certain tables, and as I show you that for now we don't have any kind of tables. Now this is the reason behind this is because we have not created any kind of models. So first we have to configure these databases with our Python code. So we'll just move on to PyCharm and we will go on to settings.py. Now in the settings.py, what you have to do is that you have to look for this databases that is by default. The engine is django.db.backend, so that is SQLite 3, and SQLite 3 is what is basically present by default in PyCharm. So you can either use this or you can use an external database, that is the PostgreSQL. Now the reason I'm not using SQLite 3 over here and I am using an external database, that is PostgreSQL, because all of you might not have PyCharm professional version, because it is a compiler that is actually bought using a lot of money. So some students don't want to buy it, so they may be using the free versions, and in that you don't have these SQLite 3 things available. So that's why I'm using an external database so that it will be for all. So the engine is basically going to be now for the PostgreSQL. So in place of SQLite 3, you will simply type in PostgreSQL. Alright, so now the engine is basically PostgreSQL. Now the name of that is going to be basically the project you have created over here. So I will just remove this stuff from here, and the name for the project is going to be enclosed in single quotation marks, and it is going to be the name of the project we are working in. So the name of the project we are working in is my first project. So we'll just type in my first project over here. Alright, now the next thing we need to specify over here is going to be the user. So we are going to type in user colon, and then you have to specify the name of the user. Now for the user, you have to specify the name that was basically about the master user, or you can call it the super user. Now in our case, it was postgre, if you just remember from your previous tutorial. Now then you have to specify the password as well. So it is going to be password, then a colon, and then you have to specify the password that was 1 2 3 4 in our case for the super user, that was postgre. Finally, you have to specify colons over here as well. I just missed the colons. Yep. So finally, what you have to do is that you have to specify the host. Now the host in our case is going to be the local host, since we are working on the local host. So you have to specify local host over here. So now our database is basically configured with the Python code, and this is how it is done using certain things. You have to specify the engine name to be the PostgreSQL. You have to specify the name of the project, that is my first project in this case. You have to specify the user, that is the super user. You have to specify the password for the Postgre super user, and you have to specify the host you are working in, which is localhost in our case. Now this is the configuration for the database PostgreSQL. Now Postgres being a different platform and Django being a different platform, now how are they going to connect? Now there is a connector for this as well, which you are going to use for the connection. Now the name of the connector is basically Scicop2. Now Scicop2 is a PostgreSQL database adapter for the Python programming language. The PostgreSQL can be integrated with Python using the Scicop2 module. Now Scicop2 was written with the aim of being very small and fast and stable as rock. So there are two options you can use to install Scicop2. Either you can just type in pip install Scicop2, or you can just import that. So at the top where you have the libraries imported, you can just type in import, and you can just type in Scicop2. Now since in my case it has not generated an error, which it should have, but if in your case it generates any kind of error or a red line beneath this Scicop2, what you can do is that you can click on it, and you can see that in my case this bar over here is yellow. In your case this is going to be red. You are going to just click on it, and the first option for you is going to be install the package Scicop2. You are going to click on it, and the installation is going to show right over here in this down corner, and your Scicop2 is going to be installed, and you are going to get a message here in kind of a notification that the module has been installed for you successfully. So when you install Scicop2, so now your databases and your Django code can be connected to each other, since now the Scicop2, that is the connector between the Django and the PostgreSQL, has been installed successfully on your system. Alright, so let's just run our server. So we will write in Python manage.py run server, and our server will be running shortly. Alright, so it has got certain errors. It says the password authentication failed for the user Postgre. Yes, we have missed an S over here. It has to be Postgres. So it will now reload itself. It is reloading now. And it has again found some errors. It says the database my first project does not exist. Alright, yes, we don't have to specify the name of the project here. We have to write in the name of the database over here. So in the pgadmin4 we are going to create a database, and the name of the database is going to be my first project. So just click save, and the database is going to be created for you. Alright, it will take its time. Alright, so the database has now been created. Here it is, my first project. And if you click on it, it has all the things that are required. We have the cost, we have the catalogs, we have the event triggers, we have the extensions, we have the foreign data wrappers, we have the languages, and the most important of all, we have got the schemas over here. And in the schemas, you can see that we have foreign tables, we have tables, but for now we don't have anything in these because we have not created our models. So I guess that's it with the configuration things. In the next tutorial, what we are going to do is that we are going to start creating our models. So I guess that's it with this tutorial. Thank you so much guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial.